Hello and welcome to New Frontiers on CCTV International. I'm Ji Xiaojun in Beijing, and today we're continuing the story of Mazu, goddess of the sea. It's a remarkable tale of a little girl called Li Mo, born to an ordinary fishing family on China's southeast coast, who evolved into one of the world's most revered deities. Her fame spread thanks largely to the stories and legends that grew up around her. At one point in her evolution, Mazu was the daughter of the Dragon King. There was, however, an obvious contradiction in this association. The Dragon King, you see, was the all-powerful being responsible for creating the perils of the sea, while Mazu was the protector of seafarers. Records from the Qing dynasty suggest that this contradiction was easily resolved, and in a very practical manner. Apparently, temples of the Dragon King were destroyed and temples of Mazu were built in their place.
Numerous legends describe how Mazu subdued the Dragon King. One relates to a time when torrential rain was flooding the fields of Zhejiang province. Mazu berated the Dragon King, who was responsible for the rain, and the Dragon King immediately halted the rain and apologized for his mistakes. At another time, the Dragon King would stir up the seas and capsize ships. When Mazu appeared and saved the sailors, the Dragon King would flee in embarrassment. But people always wondered why Mazu, the daughter of the Dragon King, should have fallen out with her father. And how was it that, time after time, the mighty Dragon King could have been defeated by his daughter? The reason was the Guanyin Buddha and her supernatural powers. She instilled magic powers in the Dragon King's daughter. With time, the image of Mazu became obscured as she became more and more associated with Guanyin. In the larger temples of Mazu, there are usually 18 gods standing before her. They are replicas of the 18 arhats in the temples of Guanyin. Two of the gods standing before the statue of Mazu have a particularly strange appearance. They are proof of Mazu's shared identity with that of Guanyin. The god to the right is gazing into the distance, shading his eyes with his hand. He is the god of farsightedness. The one to the left is listening attentively, with his finger pointing to his ear. He is the god of distant hearing. Sight, or Guan, and hearing, or Yin, are a clear reference to Guanyin and imply a strong connection between Mazu and Guanyin. But, in the reality, no god could be more powerful than that of the emperor. A story is told about an envoy from the Ming court who faced peril on the sea. A ship was dispatched to the islands of Liuqiu, carrying an imperial edict conferring a title on the king of Zhongshan. The aim in conferring the title was to demonstrate the superior position of the Ming emperor. On board the boat was the two-story official cabin, behind which was the compass room, guarded by the compass reader. The lower of the official's cabin's 2 floors housed a statue of Mazu. On the upper floor, in view of its greater importance, the imperial edict was kept. Every day during the voyage, someone was responsible for cleaning the cabin and burning joss sticks. The official sent by the Ming court, the edict to Liuqiu, was a man named Chun Kan. His voyage was a perilous one. According to the book Summary and Supplement of the Record of Liuqiu, a sudden gale rose up at sea when the ship was near Liu Chu, opening up a fathomless trench before it. Several white water spouts shot up into the sky to a height of 100 meters, blocking their way. The envoy was horrified. However, an old sailor explained that it was the Dragon King welcoming the envoy. But the envoy was doubtful. The sea was rough, the ship almost capsized. People threw themselves to their knees, kowtowing incessantly. They prayed to the goddess of the sea to stop the Dragon King, but to no avail. The old sailor suggested to the envoy that he write a document revealing his identity and throw it into the water. The envoy, thinking the idea ridiculous, refused. But his refusal turned the sailors against him. They accused him of neglecting his duty and endangering their lives. Finally, the envoy reluctantly agreed to write. Though an imperial edict is on the boat, the Dragon King need make no obeisance. Immediately, the clouds dispersed and the storm stopped. There is a marked difference between this and other legends. This time it was the imperial edict and not the goddess of the sea that was responsible for quelling the storm. It was symbolic of the fact that no god was higher than the emperor. In 1407, the great Chinese navigator Zheng He returned from his first voyage to the western seas. Following his return, he had a special request for Emperor Zhongle. He wanted to build a temple to the heavenly princess, the goddess of the sea, in Langjiang, where he'd begun his great voyage. 2 years later, when Zheng He returned from his second voyage, he found the temple had been completed in his absence. Returning from the imperial court, Zheng He brought with him an official edict on offering sacrifices to the god of the sea, as well as the official name bestowed by the emperor on her. The name was Efficacious Heavenly Princess, who protects the country and the people. Thus, Yongle became the first Ming emperor to confer a title on a god. It was also a key event in the worship of Mazu in the Ming dynasty. Each time Zheng He passed the temple of the goddess, he would take his men to pay their respects to her. In 1431, before his seventh great voyage, he set up a stela in Changle in northern Fujian province. The stela commemorates the deeds of Mazu. The inscription on it records how the goddess had saved Zheng He and his fleet on many occasions. It reads in part, "Setting sail, sailing day and night, the imperial court blesses us on our journey, as does the heavenly princess."
The inscriptions on the stele express both gratitude and respect. The strange thing is, though, that Zheng He contrived to be both a Muslim and a Buddhist.
The envoy Zheng Kan was sent to Liu Chu on several occasions. He's said to have been saved from the sea by Mazu many times. Eventually, he became a believer in Mazu. He then made a submission to the emperor in the hope that Mazu could be worshipped officially. He wrote, "Mazu's merits are so great that I dare not report, my lord. Please show your benevolence. Let the Board of Rites consider the matter." The reply from the Board of Rites was cautious. "In view of the deeds she has done, we have reason to worship the goddess of the sea. But although the Board of Rites was clearly reluctant, it did agree to Cheng Kan's proposal. It even set out an order of worship. 2 rites were supposed to be observed by the imperial envoy and his crew when they sailed for Liu Qiu. One was to take place before setting sail, to pray for a safe and prosperous voyage. The other was supposed to take place when the envoy returned safely, to express gratitude to Mazu. The 2 rites represented the making and the redemption of a vow to the goddess Mazu, which would ensure the success of the diplomatic mission across the seas. And so, finally, an order of worship was established for Mazu, and her place as a goddess was cemented in the Ming Dynasty. Official regulations were introduced for worshipping her. From this platform, belief in Mazu could develop further. Around this time, elements of Confucianism began to enter the legends of Mazu. One version of her life claimed that she came from a family of officials and scholars. She had punished a local tyrant and encouraged the people to perform good deeds. Lin Mao, Mazu's name in her mortal life, was no longer regarded as the witch of legend, but as a model of Confucian piety. But the changes instituted by the government could not be accepted in all areas of society, where the belief in ghosts and gods was deep-rooted. When they were confronted with the disasters, people preferred to believe in the imaginary gods. A general of the time had personal experience of this. Yu Daiyu was a successful candidate in the highest imperial examination during the reign of Emperor Jiajing in the Ming Dynasty. He was an outstanding, patriotic military leader, as famous as General Qi Jiaguang. Popularly, they were known as